And you can subscribe there, and you'll get a notification every time we put up a new episode, which is after every single show. Every single show is up there commercial free. If you miss yesterday's show I thought was really good. You can go back and listen to it on the iHeartRadio app, which is completely free, by the way. Real quick, before we get into the Buccaneers conversation, I wanted to have USF has put out on Twitter just before we got on the air, a little less than an hour ago. They put out a picture of a helmet. It's kind of all dark. It's almost like just a shadow, and it just says tomorrow. And then there's an Adidas logo. It says be different, and a very small USF Bulls logo. And then the caption is just the emoji with the zipper on the lip. And it sounds like they're going to be, my guess is based off this image they're announcing or going to reveal their new, maybe an alternate uniform or new helmets, is what it looks like. Looking at the comments, a lot of people think it's going to be the white helmet with the gold USF logo. It'll be interesting to see what they do, but USF has something up their sleeve, and we'll find out what that is tomorrow. All right, for the Buccaneers, there is someone the Buccaneers, I think, needs to be signed. That person, I think, if they were able to sign this person, I think it'd be the best signing of the offseason, quite honestly. I think, and look, I like some of the offseason moves that they've made. I think Kenneth Gainwell is going to be, I think he's going to be really good. The things that he can do, I think he's more valuable than Rachaad White, and I think he's going to be just a big weapon for Baker Mayfield out of the passing game. So I'm excited for him. But this next person, looking at his sacks, he's had a year where he had 18.5 sacks, 14.5 sacks, 13 sacks, 13.5. He's had 12, 11. You're going, my God, gee golly, he's old. And he is old, but he had 139 sacks. Who I'm talking about is not somebody that is going to be playing on the field, but that player is former player Jason Taylor. I think Jason Taylor is someone the Buccaneers need to at least give a phone call to, and maybe they have. Just give him a call. Hey, man, you sick of NIL and you sick of recruiting on the road? You want to just come here? We got Ruben Bain, one of the players you recruited and did a really good job with. You want to just come here to Tampa? It's a lot nicer than Miami. A little bit slower paced. A lot less New Yorkers. Don't get me wrong, Jason. We still have the New Yorkers, but a lot less of them. It's beautiful here, and we will welcome you with open arms. Well, most of us will. Some hate transplants, and I guess technically you'd be a transplant, but we would welcome you with open arms, and I think he would be the perfect addition to this coaching staff. You know, all 4 of his defensive linemen earned all ACC recognition last year. I just think about what he could do with what we have here, because I do believe the defensive line, even though they haven't lived up to the full potential or really even sniffed it, I do think there is potential, a lot of it, with this defensive line, especially once they added Ruben Bain to the room. You know, he had 2 first-round draft picks last year between Ruben Bain, who obviously fell to the Bucs at 15, and then Mesidor went to the Chargers somewhere in the 20s. I mean, that's pretty impressive. And what he's doing at Miami is absolutely going to work in the NFL. He's running an NFL defensive line, and Miami consistently has one of the best defensive lines. They did last year. That's what got them to a national championship game. They were headlined by their defensive line, and their run game was solid, and they just created so much pressure, of course, having Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor. But Jason Taylor has been just a solid coach at the University of Miami, and I think it's worth making the call. You know, I look at Akeem Mesidor. I know he's not on our team, but Akeem Mesidor had 8 sacks at West Virginia. He transfers to Miami, and he ends up having 26 sacks at Miami. Now, you could say, well, Nick, he played 17 seasons with the Hurricanes. He played 4, but really only 3. He was injured 1 year, and I believe that year he was injured, he had 1 sack. So you could take that off and say 25 sacks in 3 years. Not bad production. I'd take that out of some players here in Tampa Bay. But this is how you guys always hear me talk about reinvesting in the talent that you already have. Like I said before the draft with Yaya Diaby, I said, you got to reinvest in Yaya Diaby. We all believe he has the potential to be really good. He constantly leads the team in sacks, but it's still not enough sacks. Leading the team at 7.5, it's got to be more than 7.5. Well, you get somebody opposite of Yaya Diaby, then I think he can lead the team in sacks with double digits. And I said my dream draft player would be Reuben Bain, and it actually happened. I thought it was a very slim chance, but it actually happened. And now he's here. And so you bring the guy that developed Reuben Bain into Reuben Bain to help him continue his career at the pro level and advance to the next level. And who better than Jason Taylor, who was, I just read you the numbers of what he's done in his pro career. Who better to learn from? So if they haven't made the call, can we make the call? If you have made the call already, well, then kudos to the Buccaneers for recognizing it. But this is how you reinvest in the young talent that you have already on this team. You let him come in here and not coach just the edge. He's going to coach the entire defensive line. Kalijah Cansey, going to improve. You have young David Walker, who fans, I think, have put too much pressure on really the entire defensive line and the expectation, but I get it. You have young talent in that room, and you want to see them succeed. The way we're talking about David Walker, he's essentially going to be a rookie because he was hurt all of last year. The fan base, just from speaking with them online and in person, they expect a lot from a guy like David Walker. Well, how do you help a guy like David Walker develop? You get him a really good coach in Jason Taylor, a guy that's been there and done that. So that is, we did the topic of who's my dream draft pick. Jason Taylor's my dream signing. And I think that'd be the best signing of the offseason. I like the Anzalone signing. That's fantastic. A lot of people like the Muhammad signing. It doesn't really excite me. He had 11 sacks. You go back and watch the tape. He's on third down passing downs. I'd be shocked if he had 11 sacks. He had 11 sacks a year ago, and he takes a $2 million offer in Tampa Bay. He wasn't offered anything more after 11 sack season. A little bit of a red flag there, but good depth piece. I told you I like the Gainwell signing. Nothing wrong there. But this would be the best signing they could possibly make.
The tough part, though, is, Nick, they actually did bring in a brand-new D-line coach, Marcus West, for this season. I agree with you. I think it would be awesome to have Jason Taylor here, but they got a brand-new D-line coach.
Can you fire him before he even start? I'm just kidding. I don't wish that. I think you got to find a way to figure it out to have them both then. But I think you got to bring Jason Taylor in.
Make Jason Taylor the edge coach.
No, he's good enough because, to me, he can go from D-line to edge, but you got to give him some sort of position. I just think it would be silly not to. And look, I'm speaking in fantasy world. It's not going to happen for probably the exact reason that you just brought up. But look, maybe before they made that hire, maybe they did reach out to Jason Taylor. But probably not because he was hired before Reuben Bain was drafted. So, it would be hard to actually make the move because you're hiring him because of who you drafted. So all of this came to fruition a couple weeks ago. But even already having a brand new defensive line coach, I still think you make the call. Hey, what are you making down in Miami? Hey, we can top that. You get to live in a better city, and you don't have to recruit. You don't have to walk in a living room and drop down a bag of cash anymore. You can just come and coach and live a nice lifestyle here in Tampa Bay, which, again, is so much better than Miami. I can't stress that enough. But Jason Taylor, I would love it. I think it'd be a great way to invest in this defensive line. Again, it's a dream scenario. I'm living in fantasy world right now. We need some football in our life. We do have the schedule released tomorrow. One thing we do know, the Bucs will not be going overseas because the Lions were the last team we thought they could play. They were never going to play Atlanta. Atlanta's not going to take a divisional opponent overseas. They're going to want to play the Bucs at home. Only the Rams want to take on a division opponent on the overseas, and that's because the Niner gang overtakes every single Rams fan in their stadium. They get overtaken. It does happen in other places, not just here. Happens in L.A. Hell, it happened the other night in Philly. Knicks fans overtook the stadium. I remember Philly fans chirping at me in 2023 when the Rays got overtaken. Was it 23 or 22 when When they played the Rangers in the playoff, Philly fans were like, oh, that would never happen in Philly. You guys didn't even show up to a playoff game for your basketball team. It happens everywhere, especially when the weather is nice. But yeah, that'd be my dream signing. I hope they at least just make the call, see what it would take, and make it work. I don't care if there's already a defensive line coach in place. Doesn't matter to me.